It's the 6th of the 8th, 24. The time is 7 minutes past 10. And by Jove, I think I've cracked this Adrian Newey thing. I will be honest. And there's been much speculation of late, right, over the past 2, 3 or 4 months that Adrian Newey will be going here, there or everywhere. But here today, I'm ready to dissect it and give you the truth, the honest truth and nothing but the truth. Here we go. Because many people, not least of whom F1 Elvis, aka Mark Presley, can't remember his name, it evades me. But many people have said that Adrian Newey was going to go to Ferrari. Their reasoning being that he said on many occasions that he'd harboured aspirations to work with Lewis Hamilton and to indulge himself even in the glory and the prestige of the red car, Maranello. We know that he went there. But again, that was debunked. He went there to test. You know that Adrian Newey loves himself a cheeky bit of motorsport, some racing. He was there at the Monaco Classic not long. He is that guy. However, that's since been debunked by senior officials over at Scuderia Ferrari, who said that they can't accommodate Adrian Newey, that the juice financially isn't worth the Adrian Newey squeeze. Where and how could they accommodate him in their current mixed, in their existing aerodynamic team? That's what senior officials at Ferrari are saying, which means more than likely it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Adrian Newey will not find himself at Scuderia Ferrari working with one Sir Lewis Carl Davidson Hamilton any time soon. So then there are only two that are left, right? There is McLaren and there is Aston Martin potentially, if word on the F1 curb is to be believed. Some said Aston Martin, myself included, being the fact that Rob Marshall is there, Mark Webber is there. Remember, Rob Marshall was the first aerodynamic mind that he hired for Red Bull. They are friends. This, therefore, would be a reunion of sorts. Mark Webber, indeed, was best man at his wedding. So they are friends. You've got Oscar, you've got Lando. There is a lot that you have to work with. However, if you listen to the most recent Formula for Success podcast, where one Eddie Jordan stars co-host settings, Eddie Jordan being, of course, the manager somehow of Adrian Newey, in charge of all Adrian Newey negotiations, they said a couple of things which I think, again, super telling. You won't forget that Eddie Jordan was on the Oyster Convention, and he said this, that once they get the next contract from Zach Brown or whoever it is, they will get Adrian Newey a brand new bike. Maybe that was a Freudian slip. Maybe that was Eddie Jordaning, angling indeed for a better negotiating standpoint with Aston Martin, potentially. Because on the latest Formula for Success podcast, Eddie Jordan and DC went back and forth. DC, being the legend that he is, went to corner Eddie Jordan, get the news out of him. Here's what they said. On July the 24th, this Formula for Success podcast was published. Eddie Jordan said to DC, or DC said to Eddie Jordan, when you get off the fence, point out... Okay, so the conversation, let me frame it properly. The conversation was about this. Lead time. David Coulthard was referring to the fact that Adrian Newey has now left Red Bull, and all of a sudden their performance as far as the car has fallen off a cliff. David Coulthard, however, was saying that you can't connect those dots, that there is always lead time in Formula One. The fact that their performance, the car's performance, has now dropped off a cliff is not attributable to Adrian Newey. The lead time is too short. However, in and amongst that point, that subject topic that David Coulthard was making, he said the following. When you get off the fence, Eddie Jordan, when you eventually announce to us that Adrian Newey is going to Aston Martin, let me repeat that. This is verbatim. I'm quoting David Coulthard from the Formula for Success podcast. When you eventually announce to us, Eddie Jordan, that Adrian Newey is going to Aston Martin. Oh, the humanity. Joanna, he's gone. He's had a cheeky retirement, 6 months worth of. He said that he was tired, has Adrian Newey, and that he's going to go and rest himself, sail around the world for a bit on his brand new yacht. but he will be back. The reason why he'll be back is because his most senior, his most trusted counsels, being Bernie Ecclestone, they say that you need to keep your mind active into your old age. And again, remember, Adrian Newey's father did get, I don't want to say dementia, but again, towards the latter stages of his years, he wasn't the most mentally agile. So Adrian Newey says that he wants to keep himself active. He hasn't worked this long just to hang it up, so he won't be retiring anytime soon. But listen, David Coulthard is saying, Eddie Jordan, when you're going to get off the fence and eventually announce to us all that Adrian Newey is going, drumroll, to Aston Martin, oh the humanity, to which Eddie Jordan responded, you've made a statement there, which you don't often do, as to where you think Adrian Newey is going to after the summer break. One, I cannot believe that you said, bloody Nora, Eddie Jordan was fumbling his words, just like I am now. One, says Eddie Jordan, I cannot believe that what you've said is currently in a situation where you justifiably say that as a fact. You can't say that, Eddie Jordan is saying. You don't know it for a fact. DC responds, well, he's not going to Ferrari. Why do you say that, says Eddie Jordan? Why would you bring him in to McLaren unless it's with road cars because there's no challenge, responded David Coulthard. So David Coulthard says he's not going to Ferrari because senior officials have confirmed it at Ferrari, both in the media and at the team. Sack off Ferrari, that's not going to happen. Nor to McLaren, that won't happen because they're in. Adrian enjoys himself a challenge, so unless they were bringing him in to build road cars, then that wouldn't happen either, says David Coulthard. Eddie Jordan responds, well, maybe he'll go back to Red Bull if they give him a call. If Christian Horner backtracks, maybe the position for Adrian Newey is back at Red Bull. Very tongue-in-cheek from Eddie Jordan. Eddie Jordan responds that he wouldn't be waiting for any calls, contractually or otherwise, from Christian Horner anytime soon. That portion was tongue-in-cheek. However, they're going back and forth in real time now about Aston Martin being the pole sitter for Adrian Newey announcing, and then we get more news. Because Auto Sprint, Italy's biggest motorsport publication, have announced as their cover story that the genius that is Adrian Newey has chosen his next destination, that Adrian Newey will go to Aston Martin, and the announcement accordingly will be in September. Oh, the humanity. Now, I've said on a gazillion occasions that all F1 publications are created equally, but some are created more equal than others. Auto Sprint apparently is a god tier one. Not that notwithstanding, there are journos who've been talking about this Aston Martin being the pole sitter for Adrian Newey for the longest time now. Remember, we spoke about this yesterday, that Mike Crack is talking about patience or lack thereof as far as Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll says when he gets passionate about a project, he wins. He pummels capital, financial resource at the problem with a view to solve it. Ergo, Adrian Newey's contract will be anywhere between a 3 or 4 year deal to the tune of 120 million US dollars. You can take that to the bank. The pole sitter, as at August 2024 for one Adrian Newey, is indeed the Green Machine, the team they call Aston Martin. Joanna, it's getting techie. He was baiting Jordan, wasn't he, Dean? But the fact that he said it at the outset, when you announced that he's going to Aston Martin, with some sort surety, David Coulthard, don't get it twisted. They will be having these conversations in the background. Why did DC say that? Was it by extension? Was it by default? Was it diagnosis by exclusion? I don't know, but there is a reason why DC put it forth like that, obvious and open. And if you're going to read into modes of communication, Eddie Jordan wasn't his normal buttoned up self, was he? Iffing and butting, speech fallacy, lots of stuttering as he tried to rebut the proposition from DC. Oh, the humanity. It is so techie. I think, therefore, we can assume that this isn't a deal done necessarily. Notwithstanding Auto Sprint saying that it will be announced in September, I don't think you can write home about this just yet. But if we're talking about odds, probability, which one of these scenarios before us, being McLaren, Ferrari, or Aston Martin is the scenario most likely. I think you can bank this now, that as at the 6th of the 8th, 2024, the most likely destination for one Adrian Newey is Lawrence Stroll team. That team has a name. That team's name is Aston Martin. Oh, the humanity.